Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going into masking the blade, and this is an old video that I established for Skyward Tactical, but I do need to transfer over everything as far as technique goes onto this channel. So I have cut out a little bit of the video so it's a little bit shorter. Those of you that have actually seen the full-length video on the other side, you're really not going to be getting much outside of seeing this again. For the rest of you, I hope you enjoy the video, and if this provides any value to you at all, or you believe that this is a skill set that someone that you know should probably see, please share this video. I have to script and film, edit, and release all these videos by myself now. I no longer have a videographer, and it would help me greatly if you guys shared the videos word of mouth, get more people to the channel. Let's get into the video now. All right, so what is masking the blade? The easiest way for me to explain it is to describe it as the more proactive way in hand carry. And so you have a couple ways that you can deploy a blade, and that would be based off of certain carry positions. So if you're carrying a concealed blade in your pocket or on your waistband, that's normally the traditional way that you would be accessing that blade. Now, if you've seen a couple of my other videos, I talk about in-hand carry. In-hand carry is easily described as taking a blade, taking a folder or a fixed blade, and placing it in your hand before anything actually happens. Now, this is because you see something that is about to happen. You have a gut feeling that maybe something is wrong, or what happens is you just feel uneasy about a certain task that you're about to do. So that would be in-hand carry. Now, with certain fixed blades, you're going to need to have the ability, at least in my opinion, to have a sheath that is able to be taken off so that you can deploy the blade in the action of it. What I don't advocate for in-hand carry is for you to just draw a live blade, an open blade, and then be able for it to be recognized as such. And the reason for that is a lot of the in-hand carry tactics that I teach also talk about when you need to, you can drop it for females back in your purse, or for males back in your pocket, or even discard it completely. But the thing is that there is no actual blade that is going to cut you. So what happens is that is one of the reasons why the MDV was designed this way. It is one of the reasons why when I talk about placing a folder in your hand, it is still closed. So what happens is that is in hand carry. The concept is pulled from gunfighting, and the fact of that if you are going into a building and you know that there are going to be people that are trying to kill you, you are not going to have a holstered firearm as you walk in, because you already know, or at least have anticipation, that there are threats inside that building that mean to kill you. And so you would draw your pistol, hold it into a position that allows you to clear properly, and then in turn, if you engage a target that means lethal intent towards you, then you have a faster reaction. So that's in-hand carry. Masking the blade is one step beyond that, thinking about being a little bit proactive. You're going to take a blade, doesn't matter, fixed blade or folder. You're going to expose the blade, and then you're going to conceal it in a way that when somebody looks at your hands, they're not going to anticipate or see that you have a blade in your hand. Now, this is something that can be placed over the top of the blade. Whatever it is that is concealing the blade should not hinder you from using the blade. So this can be cloth, it can be paper like a pamphlet, it could be somebody's purse, it could be something that you hold on to that at the last second you can let go, and then in turn utilize the blade for that. I also need to be within a crowd or around people that I don't want to set them off, meaning I don't want them to see a live blade and go, holy shit, he has a knife in his hand. And this can also be done with other weapons. So are there any ways that you can think of prior to me actually going into those examples for that? And can you think of reasons why we would teach this skill? Why is this skill important, and why do I teach it? The reason that I teach this particular skill, masking the blade, is because of the mindset that it starts to bring about, the conversations. What it does is it starts talking about predatory mindset. It talks about how those that wish to do evil upon others or violence upon others, how they are creative in their ways of setting certain things up. We can take that skill and apply it into a beneficial way for us to be able to apply it in our personal protection. It is something that I teach to special operations for a number of reasons, but I teach this also to women's self-defense seminars as well as my normal self-defense classes, because what it does is it starts to give someone the understanding that just because somebody is a bad guy does not mean they're dumb. Does not mean that they haven't thought this through, and does not mean that their ambush is going to be extremely hard to identify. It's not necessarily the techniques that I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over a number of examples in this video, but the thing is that this conversation starts to bring about a better understanding of how what you would call the enemy works. And the more that you understand the more intricate and intelligent ways that they ambush people, the safer you're going to be overall. The reason for that, in my opinion, is because situational awareness, which is a catchphrase in self-defense and personal protection, it is an answer that a lot of experts throw out there to just blanket questions or scenarios that they don't really have detailed responses to. What they do is they go, well, you defend against that by being more situationally aware. And it is a problem, at least in my opinion, because situational awareness is something that is taught. There are certain skills or certain abilities that you may have that are innate when you are born or while you go through certain cultures. As you start to go through life itself, you will start to understand how to read people. You'll start to understand what your gut feeling is, what intuition is. You'll start to learn how to trust those things. Some people have that in spades, meaning they're just really good at that. Some people are really good at reading people. Some people are really good at reading a room. There are others that are completely oblivious. And so to state that situational awareness is something that is going to fix problems, well, it doesn't do a service to the people that actually need the skills. So in order for them to become more situational aware, just like you trying to tell somebody to use common sense, all of this is learned. It's either through experience or it's through training. And a lot of times it's both. Remember, experience is something that you receive shortly after you need it. So you're going to take that, and then you're going to take the training and knowledge that you receive, and then you're going to try to apply it, and eventually it will become something that is going to enhance your safety overall. But the thing is that it's not something that is just easily applicable. And the more that you understand the mind of a criminal, of the person that's trying to do you harm, the easier it is for you to identify the pre-contact cues or the red flags that are about to happen so that you can prepare yourself. And so the purpose of this skill is that it brings about the conversation, and then in turn starts to talk about what real situational awareness is, which is it is knowledge combined with experience. And over time, what happens is you will become better at being able to read where you're supposed to be, how to make certain decisions, and a number of things that make you safe overall. Now, there are two reasons why you learn techniques, and that is something that my father used to talk about in a lot of his classes, but he usually used to talk about it in a physical technique perspective. And what he would say is that you learn techniques for two reasons. One is so that you can do them, and two, so that you know when people are doing them against you. Now, a lot of that applies into the understanding that in order for you to truly defend against something, you need to know how to do it, because you need to understand what they're looking for and how to set things up. And so that kind of applies to this purpose for this video, which is I'm going to expose a certain way of hiding the blade, and you're going to start to think about ways that bad guys are going to do that to kind of set you up. First time that I was introduced to this concept as an official block of instruction was around 2011, 2012. I was training with Jack Nevels, who, for those of you that know of the platform that we run, it's watchstyleeliteu.com. He is one of the main mentors that are there. But towards the very end of his military career, he developed and ran course called the Lone Operator course. And within that course, there was a block of instruction that talked about how to create a cover and then how to sell the character that you were developing. So if you wanted to infiltrate a certain place and then in turn you needed to become an electrician, then in turn what happened was not only was that part of the class, but there were skill sets on how to appropriately sell that and talk as someone like that. And inside of that, there were a number of skills on how to hide your weapon. But the thought process or the way that he introduced it was a story of him and his family. And so I'll try to do this one justice. But the thing is that he was on a road trip with his family and they were stopped at a fast food place. And it was at within a not so great area of town. And so his wife took his small daughter, who was very young at that time, probably 5 or 6, inside. And he was going to wait in the vehicle because they just were running inside to grab an order and then they were just going to get back on the road. While they were going inside, there were 3 or 4 young men that looked at his wife as he was watching them, made comments to each other, laughed, pointed to them, and then just followed them into, we'll just say it's McDonald's. And so what happened was Jack was like, well, I don't appreciate that. And so what he did was they had already hit a couple fast food places. And so he had a number of these fast food bags in his vehicle. And so what he did was he reached down, grabbed a bag. He grabbed his Emerson because we weren't working with Scallywag at the time. He opened up the Emerson and then he placed it inside the bag just like this. And then he wrapped it around. So we went back inside to meet his family. And so the young men were directly behind her, talking and joking and whatever. And so he walked in and then he put his hand on her back and then he looked at them and waved and they backed off. And when they backed off, he was just standing there with the knife in the bag, just like this. And all he did was he just stood there and she asked about it. And he's like, don't worry about it. They ordered, grabbed all their stuff, and then they kind of moved on. And the whole entire thought behind that was there were 3 or 4, I can't actually remember how many were in the story, but there were definitely more than just one. And in a scenario like that, if stuff got really, really bad, he would have a harder time dealing with just a single person. And so obviously the way that this was kind of set up is that the knife is here. You can switch hands. It looks like I'm just holding a bag of fast food. And there's actually nothing, obviously, that is going to stop if I wanted to stab and use that in a real scenario. And so that is how I was introduced to the concept. And then from there, what we had to do is we had to create in the course, we had to create a number of different ways to do that. And so I'd like to kind of go over a couple of practical applications that I pass on to individuals. One of them for women is utilizing their purse. Okay. And so a lot of times I get the question of, well, what happens if I have to walk to my car and I have my purse and I have this knife and where do I carry it and that type of thing. And so I had my wife grab me an old purse of hers. And so these things are ginormous, by the way. What we do is we tell them, and it depends on the purse. It's always going to be a case-by-case scenario. Obviously, if you don't have this giant duffel bag of a purse, you're going to have to use a smaller knife. But let's use a small knife as it is. So what happens is we tell them that you would want to place the keys in the front pocket here of some sort. Use your left arm or your non-dominant arm to wrap this directly around. And you would hold the lip of the purse like this, open this up, and then hold this just like that. And all you would do is just hug this to your body. In the scenario that something happens, all you would do is you just walk by and then you can reach down, access your keys if you have to. You can use this to block. If somebody grabs it, you could utilize the knife if you have to. You can use the purse itself to deflect or get their hands up. It doesn't really matter. The fact is that the knife is now accessible and ready to go. If you don't wish to use the knife, because the keys are in the front pocket, you could just drop the knife in the center. And then what happens is put it to the side. You remember that the knife is open. When you are in a safe place and you have visibility, you can look down and you can close that later on. And so that's just one way of taking that same concept and applying it in a scenario that somebody might want to do that. For those of you that have ball cap, you can utilize this same concept by hiding a blade inside of the ball cap. You just take the ball cap off. You can have the sheath on or off. This is the MDV. I could do this with the sheath on, and all I do is I just kind of wrap this directly around. And so I can have this in front, and it's not going to look weird because all I'm doing is just crushing my hat here. If I ever want to use it, I just draw the blade, use the blade, or if I want, I can keep it inside the hat and screw up my hat if I want to. But that is another way that you can use masking the blade. There are a number of ways that you can do this. The idea is that you want to have a way of concealing the blade that isn't going to draw attention to you in the environment that you're at. So if you're in a fast food environment, having a fast food bag wrapped around your knife isn't going to be looked upon weirdly. Okay, Jack used to talk about if you want to blend into the area, you just reach into any trash bag or trash can that's within the vicinity of that fast food area, and you'll be able to grab a bag of that fast food brand. This is the concept of masking the blade. Once again, it is not something where you are hoping to use the blade. The entire thought process is that by having it in this position, you are going to be quicker in response to violent changes in the environment. And so you also want it to be in a way where if you just need to disengage or you're not going to use the knife, that it's very, very easy for you just to kind of put that away. In the thought process of the purse, you just drop the knife inside. You could close it and drop it inside. With the hat, all you would do is you just put that hat in your back pocket. With the knife, it's not going to drop or do anything. You know, with the fast food bag, all you do is just hold the bag and just go to your car as if you were done. So you are looking for something that kind of blends in. This is just much better than you trying to hide a blade in your hand when it's exposed. It is faster and quicker than if you were to try to have like a folder in your hand. It is more concealable than having a fixed blade in your hand where the sheath is on. There's just a number of applications. This is just a more suitable way of being proactive in a potentially violent scenario. All right. So, can you think of any way that somebody that is meaning violence upon you could do this in reverse? And obviously, you could pick the exact same ones that I use, but are there scenarios that pop to your mind that somebody could utilize the environment or utilize something that they could cause to where they would be able to draw you out and then, before you know it, have some sort of violence applied to you with a weapon?